After the horrific shooting in Dallas, rappers The Game and Snoop Dogg have decided to unify with the Los Angeles Police Department in an act of peace. Now, this is an incredible story, and it all started when The Game posted something on social media, Instagram to be specific, about how the Black community needs to come together with the police in order to find solutions, in order to push forward with a peaceful movement. So The Game posted on his Instagram account a call for Black, Mexican, and men of all races to march to the Los Angeles Police Department's headquarters to make the Californian government and its law branches aware that from today forward, we will be united as minorities and we will no longer allow them to hunt us or to be hunted by us. So let me read you a little bit more from his post. He says, "Do not bring any weapons or anything illegal. Do not come high or belligerent. We don't need any hotheads or anyone there for the wrong reasons. We will stand as we are, united. I'm calling all gangs, all races, all grown men, affiliated or not, and we will stand united tomorrow." So we have a video of what occurred and how many people showed up, and it's actually incredible because they decided to show up to the police department when the police academy was having a graduation ceremony. Okay?
Now, they didn't know that.
They did not know that at the time.
So that was a coincidence.
Yeah.
But before we go to the video, I've got to say two things that I love about Snoop's statement. Now, when Snoop tells you not to come high, you know he means it.
Yeah. So this statement is actually from The Game.
Yeah.
Oh, it's from The Game. Okay.
Yeah.
Still, he's in conjunction with Snoop.
Yeah.
And he said, now, grown men, and he, I don't know why your version didn't have it, but he said all African-American men, Mexican-American men, and any other race of real men. Okay, I just like the phrasing on that. Like, if you're a real man, come out with us. Okay,
Yeah.
and I agree with that.
Yeah.
So now let's watch the video.
Basically, as young Black individuals in this community, the police on their side. We saw what's going on in the news. We see what's going on in the world back to back. We have to see eye to eye. We have to understand each other.
Why is there so much hate? Why is there so much kill? Everybody wants to kill each other. Kill, 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 kill.
We're about the love and the peace. We all got families, and we all want to go home, and we want it to be safe out here. And what better way than to get an understanding with the people who we have the misunderstanding with?
My objective was to come down here and meet with the police officers and greet with the police officers, reintroduce ourselves as citizens of Los Angeles to them, and allow them to reintroduce themselves to us.
Yeah, I love it. I mean, I love that they're saying it's not just us saying, hey, don't kill us, but also we want to introduce ourselves to you guys, and we don't want any misunderstandings with you guys. We don't want hostility towards you guys, as we don't want hostility towards us. Mm-hmm. And then let me just, looking at that picture, one more point is that when Snoop comes dressed like that, I love that because, I mean, that's how he normally dresses anyway, but I think a lot of cops deal with guys dressed like that and they come with certain biases. Mm-hmm. But since he's a celebrity and he comes there, maybe he gets them to open their eyes and go, oh yeah, there but for the grace of God goes Snoop. Yeah. Right? And so that's part of introducing yourselves to one another and knowing each other and getting along better.
Yeah, I think that what this demonstrates more than anything is that there's a need for dialogue, right? And so instead of both sides getting angry, going to their corners and not looking for solutions, they've decided, hey, you know what? Let's go to them. Let's air our grievances in the most peaceful way we possibly can, and let's come up with solutions. And look, I have a lot of pride regarding Los Angeles. I was born and raised here. I'm obsessed with LA. And this story makes that pride like 10 times more intense, I guess, because the way the cops handled it just demonstrates that there are good cops out there. They are open-minded. They want solutions. They want peace, and they do want to protect and serve. Look, Los Angeles has had its issues with cops, as we all know, right? Things have gotten better, and hopefully through this open dialogue, they'll continue to get better. I want to go to Mayor Eric Garcetti, by the way, because he said some pretty awesome things about what happened as well. Let's take a look.
We just had an extraordinarily powerful meeting, one in which walls came down, boundaries and barriers didn't exist, and for a moment we grieved commonly for the lives that have been lost. The lives that were lost in Dallas of 5 officers who, as you'll hear, some of my brothers and sisters here reminded us that police officers are human beings. They're parents, they're mothers and fathers who kiss their children goodbye. And there are spouses and children who today don't have their parents coming home.
I like it. It's community policing in reverse. You know, in community policing, if you do it right, you go introduce yourself to the neighborhood and you say, I'm here to protect and serve. This is Game and Snoop and everybody that joined him, all the real men that joined him, doing it in reverse.
Yeah.
I like the implication that of the term real men being peaceful men.
Yeah.
Because in
Yes.
America, we have, you know, we perpetuate this idea of masculinity as violent and
Aggression.
gun-toting, and, you know, that's the idea of a man. Like, I can carry a gun on my hip, I know how to handle a gun, and I can fight you and I can win. And he's saying that is not the idea. Just in that small statement, he's saying real men come out and join us. Don't be high, don't be aggressive, don't carry any weapons. That's a real man. If you're confident in your masculinity without having any violence in your system, you can be angry and still be peaceful, then that's a real man. I love that implication.
Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't take courage to throw a punch, it takes courage to take a punch.
Yep.
So there they took some risk and went and tried to open themselves up, and that's real courage.
Yeah.
I would like to see them have that meeting without Snoop Dogg and the Game being
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
they of course brought all the attention to it, but you know, there are laws in the charter of the city that perpetuate institutional racism, and there are laws within the police unions contracts that prevent oversight or accountability of cops when they do encounter some problem with killing a civilian or police misconduct. And I think, you know, I went to a protest yesterday during the MoCA Museum Black Lives Matter movement. I tried to double dip and went to another protest, and I couldn't find the organizer. I didn't know who was. I saw it on social media, and I was like, I want to just see. It was on the steps of City Hall. I finally met the organizer, and it's this young girl, probably 19. I have her name on my phone. Forgive me, I don't remember, but. And she was just like, I said, what made you do this? Who did you work with? And she said, I wanted to be a part of Black Lives Matter and I didn't know how to do it. And we got like texts that said there were only 20 people there. I showed up, there were 300. And just standing on the steps and peacefully protesting. And something that's common in every single one is that, you know, there's prayer, there's love, there's anger, there's peace, and there's a desire to change things. And I think on both sides, as you're saying, you know, I hope that without, you know, these celebrities involved, that the police would get involved with the community. We don't have to take it to them. But I also hope that the communities would do everything they can to have these forums, these with the police officers, and that they don't just make the protest a moment, that it's actually a movement, and they need to call, every day they need to call their, find out who their city council members are, their governors, their mayors, and call them incessantly and demand that those types of forums be open and that policies be changed.
And like you guys say, the cops got to do it too. So, you know, I talked to Michael A. Wood. I quote that interview often because it was really an eye-opening interview. He said, look, when he's a former Baltimore police officer, and he said, we felt like an occupying force. It wasn't, we weren't there to protect the black people in Baltimore. Are you nuts? We were there to, you know, get our quota of arrests, et cetera. And he explained even if he worked in a white community, he'd go back into the black community to get the arrest because he didn't want to mess with anybody who was rich and might be powerful and might be a judge's son. And so you got to end that attitude. And so both sides have to come together and realize, hey, this is the community you're supposed to be serving. So let's figure out a way to make sure you can protect them and serve them. And that's incumbent on both sides. I like that they took this initiative, but of course the cops have just as much of a duty, in fact, more so, literally a duty, to do likewise.
Yeah.
Can I say, I want to say thank you, like thank you to the police officers. There were 10 of them in New York City that had a panel on, I believe, NBC, the local NBC affiliate. And there are several cops who have come out to expose the quota system that they are subjected to the systemic racism within their specific department. There's been a lot of cops, not enough, but many cops that have come out and put themselves at the risk, because I've heard many stories, whether they're conspiracies or not, of cops facing not only just persecution within the department, but their lives being in danger for showing their face and coming out and speaking against the police unions and such. And so I really want to commend those people and thank them. And, that brings tears to my eyes when somebody's like, you know what, I'm going to risk my job, and I know I'm going to be ostracized, and I know I'm going to face some punishment about this, but I'm putting my face on camera, and I'm saying that this has to change, especially the minority officers.
Can I just add to that really quick? There's a quote from Richard Novelis, who marched with everyone this morning. He said, "America needs to wake up and realize where this is going. This thing is escalating, and at the end of the day, it ain't going to be safe for you or safe for me. Everyone is thinking they're safe behind their keyboards and that a hashtag means something. But a hashtag or a keyboard aren't going to save you once it goes that route and it gets violent." Mm-hmm. Just to bring it back to what you were saying earlier, if people don't like it's so much easier to say your opinion online when there's no accountability. But that's why the movement like this morning, this conversation we're having, is so important, because it's so true. The second that's not just in pockets, that's not just happening in news stories that we see every day, but it's happening everywhere constantly, 24/7, which it is, but that isn't to the surface. We're like right underneath. There's kind of no turning back from there. So I think we really have to be conscious of the message, the underlying message, which is unification.
Right, and to round all this up, it takes a little bit of courage to do that. In the case of the cops, it actually takes a lot of courage, because I interviewed another Baltimore cop who turned in a fellow cop for beating the hell out of a suspect when he was already detained. And of course, the other Baltimore cops hated him. They threw a dead rat on his car, they threatened his life, and eventually they ran him out of the department. That takes a ton of courage. But he stood up and said, that's not what you're supposed to do. We're supposed to detain them. I think they had broken some of his limbs. He's like, no. And that's not, we're supposed to be the good guys. Mm-hmm. And so it's sad that it takes some courage from cops to remind other cops that we're supposed to be the good guys. Yeah. That should be obvious. But it does, and we want to commend them for doing that. Yeah.